Dear friends, have you ever faced a family secret that tore you apart? In Bar Harbor, Maine, Oberon's hidden regret unravels a gripping family drama of forgiveness and healing. Join her emotional journey and share your own stories of reconciliation below. Here's how it began. In the quiet of post-Christmas Bar Harbor, Maine, 2025, snow-draped Victorian homes, their chimneys trailing wisps of wood smoke. The air carried pine and sea salt, sharp against the evening chill. Oberon's cottage, nestled on a narrow street, glowed with lamplight, its interior cluttered with faded photos and half-finished knitting. The warmth of the fireplace did little to ease the hollow ache within. Outside, twinkling lights adorned the town, but Oberon's world was still tethered to a past she couldn't escape. Oberon, 68, a retired nurse with silver hair and weary eyes, sat by the hearth, clutching a childhood sketch of a sailboat drawn by her son David 30 years ago. Her fingers traced his scrawled signature, the paper trembling in her hands. The sketch held memories of a brighter time, now overshadowed by years of silence. Sadness gripped her, the weight of lost family dinners and laughter pressing against her chest. She rose, pulled on a heavy wool coat, and stepped into the snow, her boots crunching toward Clara's house, seeking solace in her friend's warmth. Bar Harbor sleeps under snow. A warm, gravelly male voice narrated, but Oberon's heart stirs with old wounds. At Clara's doorstep, light spilled through the window, promising comfort. Oberon knocked faintly. Clara. "It's me," she called, her voice barely carrying over the wind. The door swung open, revealing Clara, 70. Her gray hair in a bun apron dusted with flour. "Oberon, heavens, you're pale as the snow." "Come and warm up by the fire," Clara said, ushering her inside. Oberon sank into a chair, clutching a steaming mug of tea. Clara pressed into her hands. "I can't stop thinking about him, Clara. David." It's been years, she confessed, her voice soft with regret. Clara sat across her eyes, kind. "You're not alone in missing family, dear. Holidays stir up old aches. More tea," she offered, her hands steady. Oberon shook her head. "He's an artist now, you know. I never told him I was proud. I pushed him to be something else." Her words hung heavy, each one a shard of guilt. Clara patted her hand. "We all make mistakes, Oberon. Maybe it's time to reach out." Oberon's voice cracked. "What if he hates me? I told him his dreams were foolish." Clara's tone softened, but held firm. "He's your son. He's hurting too. Start small. A call, a letter." Oberon's eyes drifted to the fire. "I don't even know where he lives now. Portland, maybe. He's got a son, Thomas. I've never met him." Clara nodded. "You're a mother, Oberon. That bond doesn't break no matter how far he's gone." Oberon's tears welled. "I was so stubborn. I thought I knew best. Law school, I said. Art wouldn't pay." Clara leaned closer. "We want to protect them, but sometimes we hold too tight. You can still make it right." "I don't know how to start, Clara." "I'm scared," Oberon whispered. Clara's voice turned resolute. "You start by being honest. With him, with yourself. You're stronger than you think." The words stirred something in Oberon, a faint hope that family bonds, though strained, could endure. Her mind slipped to a memory vivid as the snow outside. David, 10, sat by Bar Harbor's shore, sketching a sailboat. "Mom, look," he grinned, holding up his drawing. Pride swelled in Oberon's chest. but fear of his uncertain future crept in. "Art's a hobby, David." "Study law," she'd said, her voice firm. His smile faded, planting the seed of their rift. The memory stung her need for control, now a bitter regret. Loneliness cloaked Oberon, mirroring the isolation many seniors face after the holidays. Her cottage, filled with relics of a fuller past, echoed the empty spaces of those over 55, with frayed family ties. Clara, too, carried her own loss. "I waited too long to call my daughter," she confessed, her eyes dimming. "Don't make my mistake." Her regret, a quiet warning, deepened her urge to guide Oberon, setting the stage for her role as a beacon of empathy. Oberon trudged home, the snow muffling her steps. She slipped off her coat, and a folded letter fell from the pocket, David's handwriting. "Stark, we need to talk." Her breath caught. What could he want after all these years? The question hung like a cliffhanger, her heart pounding with equal parts dread and hope. Neighbors' chatter about a post-Christmas lobster supper, a Maine tradition, floated through the air, its communal warmth a stark contrast to Oberon's solitude. Back in her cottage, she pulled out her journal, the act of writing a lifeline to process her pain. By lamplight, she scribbled, "Did my pride cost me David? I wanted to protect him, but I broke us. Can love heal what I shattered? I need to try for him, for me." Her words, raw and searching, marked the start of her journey toward reconciliation. Oberon's pen pauses. The narrator closed the letter's words, burning. A spark of hope fights the cold. Snow dusted Bar Harbor's streets, the Maine town hushed under a post-Christmas calm in 2025. Fairy lights twinkled, signaling New Year's approach, their glow reflecting off icy cobblestones. Oberon's cottage, its windows fogged with warmth, hummed with unease, the weight of David's cryptic letter lingering like a shadow. Inside, the faint crackle of the fireplace battled the silence, but Oberon's heart raced, caught between hope and dread. The town buzzes, the warm, gravelly male narrator intoned, but Oberon's alone with a letter. Oberon, her silver hair falling loose, sat at her kitchen table. David's note open before her. "We need to talk." Her silver hair fell loose, framing eyes heavy with regret. She fumbled with her phone, its screen a maze of icons she barely understood. Determined to reach David, she tapped at the social media app, her fingers clumsy. The app loaded slowly, a spinning wheel mocking her efforts. Frustration welled her isolation, deepening as technology pushed her further from her son. Shock coursed through her as she reread the letter's cold tone, hinting at resentment she hadn't faced. The words stung, each one a reminder of their years apart. Honesty, she realized, was the only path to mend their broken bond, but the thought of confronting David terrified her. She needed guidance, someone to steady her resolve. Oberon dialed Marcus, her friend of 20 years, his number one of the few she knew by heart. The phone rang twice before his deep voice answered. Oberon still wrestling technology. Marcus teased, his warmth cutting through her tension. David's letter. "Marcus," she said, her voice tight. "It's cold, angry, like he blames me." Marcus's tone grew serious. "He's hurting." "You both are. Face it, Oberon." She gripped the phone. "I don't know where to start." Marcus replied, "Start with truth. Call him. Say what you feel." The conversation steadied her, planting the seed of a plan. She would speak to David, lay bare her regrets, and listen to his pain. But doubt gnawed. Would he even answer? The letter's mention of debts unpaid lingered, a subtle foreshadowing of deeper troubles. What was David hiding? The question churned unanswered as she stared at her phone. Technology, a barrier for many seniors, amplified Oberon's loneliness. Deep Search Maine's rural connectivity issues exacerbate digital divides. 2025. Her struggle to navigate the app mirrored the isolation of those over 55 cut off from digital lifelines. The screen's glow felt like a wall keeping her from David's world. Marcus, 65, a retired teacher with a caregiver's burden, played a quiet but vital role. Over coffee the next day, he shared his own struggles, caring for his wife, managing stress, and finding balance. "You can't run from this, Oberon," he said, his eyes steady. "You've got to face your flaws, same as I do." His candor, born of his own trials, pushed Oberon to confront her pride, setting the stage for her growth. As Oberon sipped coffee, her phone buzzed a text from David. "I'll meet you. Tomorrow." Her heart leapt hope, mingling with fear. The message, curt but open, was a lifeline, a chance to bridge their gap. But what would he say? The question hung a cliffhanger that quickened her pulse. Bar Harbor's community buzzed with plans for a lobster dinner, a Maine tradition that knit neighbors together. The event's warmth shared over steaming pots, and laughter stood in stark contrast to Oberon's solitude, underscoring her longing for connection. She overheard neighbors at the cafe, their voices bright with anticipation, and felt a pang. Could her family ever share such moments again? Back home, Oberon opened her journal, the act of writing a refuge for her tangled thoughts. By lamplight, she scrawled, "Does David feel I never valued him? I saw his art as a risk, not a gift. I need to tell him I was wrong." Her words, raw and searching, marked her commitment to honesty, a step toward healing their rift. Oberon's pen trembles. The narrator closed David's text, a fragile bridge. Tomorrow looms heavy with truth. Bar Harbor's icy harbor glinted under a pale January sun in 2025, the post-Christmas glow of holiday lights fading from Maine streets. Snow crunched underfoot, and the scent of salt and pine hung sharp in the air. Oberon's cottage, its windows steamed with warmth, felt colder today, the promise of David's meeting overshadowed by doubt. The town bustled with quiet recovery, but inside Oberon's heart wavered, caught between hope and fear. Oberon hopes the warm, gravelly male narrator spoke, but doubt creeps in. Oberon, her eyes heavy with regret, stood in her kitchen. David's text glowing on her phone. Her silver hair was pinned back, but her eyes heavy with regret betrayed her unease. She pulled on her coat and headed to a harborside cafe to meet Thomas David's 16-year-old son, whom she'd contacted through Clara's help. Her steps were tentative, the weight of years apart pressing down. At the cafe, Thomas waited, his dark curls and bright smile, a mirror of David's youth. They sat by a window, steam rising from their cocoa. Empathy stirred in Oberon as Thomas spoke of David's struggles. "Grandmadad's always stressed," he said, his voice earnest. "Work me everything." Oberon's chest tightened. "I didn't know, Thomas. I should have." Thomas leaned forward. "He misses you, but he's stubborn." Oberon's voice softened. "So am I. Can we fix this?" Thomas grinned. "Let's try. Family matters." His words sparked a flicker of compassion in her, a realization that David's pain echoed her own. She vowed to listen, to bridge their gap through dialogue. Grandma Thomas continued. "Dad's art keeps him going, but it's hard. Bills pile up." Oberon nodded her fingers, brushing the locket at her neck, a gift from David at 12, engraved with a tiny sailboat. The locket, a symbol of their lost unity, grounded her. She saw now how her push for David to abandon art for law had wounded him, a mistake she longed to mend. Loneliness clung to Oberon, its grip familiar to many seniors post-holidays. The cafe's chatter families, laughing friends, sharing stories, sharpened her sense of disconnection. Her life, once full of David's laughter, now echoed with silence, a void many over 55 know too well. Thomas, meanwhile, wove a quiet subplot, his optimism a beacon. "I'm planning a family reunion," he said, eyes bright. "You dad me, maybe at the community supper." His plan, bold for a teen, stirred Oberon's hope, setting him as a bridge between generations. His mixed-race heritage and tech-savvy ease contrasted with her struggles, highlighting their different worlds, yet shared goal. The conversation ended abruptly when Oberon's phone buzzed. David's text read, "Can't make it tomorrow. Sorry." Her heart sank, the cancellation a fresh wound. Why back out now? The question lingered, a cliffhanger that tightened her throat. Bar Harbor's community buzzed with plans for a post-Christmas supper, a Maine tradition of lobster and cornbread shared under string lights. Oberon overheard patrons at the cafe, their excitement a painful reminder of her solitude. Could she ever share such warmth with David and Thomas? Back home? Oberon opened her journal, the act of writing a lifeline. By lamplight, she wrote, "Was I too controlling? I thought I was protecting David, but I hurt him. Can I change for him for Thomas?" Her words, a plea for redemption, marked her growing resolve to face her flaws. Oberon's pen falters. The narrator closed David's cancellation, a heavy blow. Yet Thomas's hope lingers, a fragile light. Snow deepened in Bar Harbor, Maine. January 2025, cloaking the town in a hushed stillness. Victorian homes stood sentinel, their windows glowing against the dusk. The air, sharp with sea salt and pine, bit at exposed skin. Oberon's cottage, its fireplace crackling, mirrored her unease. David's abrupt cancellation. "Can't make it tomorrow. Sorry." Echoing in her mind. The town's post-Christmas recovery felt distant, her world narrowing to the ache of their rift. Oberon faces old wounds. The warm, gravelly male narrator intoned his voice heavy with empathy. Oberon's silver hair loose over her shoulders, sat in her armchair, eyes fixed on David's childhood sketch propped on the mantel. Sadness gripped her, the weight of their lost years pressing hard. She rose, needing Clara's counsel, and trudged through snow to her friend's house, her boots sinking deep. Clara's door opened to warmth, the scent of baking bread enveloping her. Lara 70. Her gray bun neat, gestured to a chair. "Sit, Oberon. You look lost." Clara's voice turned soft as she shared her own pain. "My daughter Lily stopped calling years ago," she said, eyes dimming. "I was too proud to admit I was wrong. Don't wait like I did." Oberon's throat tightened. I pushed David away. "Clara." "My pride." I told him art was a dead end. Clara nodded. "You can fix it. Be honest." Oberon's voice wavered. "What if he won't listen?" Clara's gaze held firm. "Try. For you both." The words stirred resilience in Oberon, a determination to face her regrets despite the pain. "I'm scared." Clara Oberon admitted, her hands trembling. "I don't know how to reach him." Clara leaned forward. "Start with the truth. Tell him you're sorry. It's never too late." The conversation, raw and grounding, pushed Oberon to reflect. She saw now how her control had fractured their bond, a mistake she vowed to mend through honesty. Her mind drifted to a bitter memory. David, 25, stood in her kitchen, his art portfolio open. "I'm moving to Portland, Mom. To paint." Her voice had been sharp. "You'll fail, David. Get a real job." His face fell, the rift widening. The memory stung her pride, a wound she now bore. Loneliness cloaked both women, a shared struggle for seniors. Clara's quiet home, like Oberon's, held relics of a fuller past, photos of Lily now distant. Their solitude, heightened post-holidays, mirrored the empty spaces many over 55 endure when family ties fray. Clara's subplot deepened her regret over Lily shaping her role as Oberon's guide. "I keep her picture by my bed," Clara confessed, voice barely audible. "Hoping she'll call." Her pain, raw and unspoken until now, fueled her empathy, urging Oberon to act before her own chance slipped away. This revelation strengthened Clara's presence, her story a mirror to Oberon's fears. Bar Harbor's community hummed with plans for winter storytelling nights, a Maine tradition where locals shared tales by firelight. Oberon, passing neighbors' chatter, felt the sting of exclusion, their warmth, a contrast to her isolation. Could she ever reclaim such connection with David back home? Oberon opened her journal, the act of writing a refuge. By lamplight, she scrawled, "Can forgiveness heal us? I hurt David, but I can change. I must try for him, for me." Her words marked a turning point, a vow to confront David despite his cancellation. But how? The question loomed, a cliffhanger tightening her resolve. Oberon's pen steadies the narrator, closed her vow a spark in the cold. David waits somewhere unaware. Bar Harbor's harbor lay frozen in January 2025. The Maine sky, a heavy gray. Snow piled high, muffling the town's pulse. Oberon's cottage, its windows steamed, felt stifling. David's cancellation. "Can't make it tomorrow," a wound still raw. The scent of sea salt and pine lingered outside, but inside Oberon's world churned with resolve. The town's post-Christmas quiet only sharpened her focus, her heart set on uncovering David's silence. Truth emerges sharp as ice. The warm, gravelly male narrator declared, his tone edged with tension. Oberon, her silver hair tucked behind her ears, sat at her kitchen table, eyes scanning her laptop. Clara's words, "be honest," echoed as she dug online, searching for traces of David. Her fingers, unsteady on the keys, landed on a financial records site. Shock jolted her as she found David's name tied to thousands in debt, medical bills, loans, a life unraveling. The numbers glared, a stark revelation of his desperation. Honesty, she realized, had led her here, but the truth cut deep. She needed perspective. Oberon called Marcus, her friend's voice, a steady anchor. "David's in debt, Marcus." "Thousands," she said, her voice tight. Marcus, 65, sighed through the phone. "That's why he's distant. Stress, not hate." Oberon's chest tightened. "I need to help him." Marcus's tone was firm. "Talk, don't judge. He's carrying more than you know." The call solidified her plan. She would reach out to David, not to accuse, but to understand, using dialogue to bridge their gap. The records hinted at deeper struggles, a subtle foreshadowing of David's hidden burdens. Oberon's mind raced, what drove him to this edge. The question gnawed her resolve to confront him, growing despite the risk. Technology, a hurdle for many seniors, deepened Oberon's isolation. The laptop's glow felt like a taunt, each click a reminder of her distance from David's world. Her struggle mirrored the 40% of seniors grappling with loneliness, their connections frayed by digital barriers. Marcus's subplot enriched the moment. Over coffee later, he shared his caregiving burden, his wife's illness, the endless appointments. "It wears you down," he admitted, his eyes tired. "But you keep going, like you Oberon." His openness, rooted in his own trials, pushed Oberon to face her fears, reinforcing her need for honesty. Their bond, quiet but vital, grounded her. Bar Harbor buzzed with plans for a New Year's community event, a Maine tradition of music and shared stories. Oberon, passing the town square, saw posters promising warmth, but the cheer felt distant, her solitude stark against the town's unity. Could she ever share such moments with David? Her phone rang as she walked home. David's number. "What do you want, Mom?" He snapped, his voice sharp. Her heart raced, the call a cliffhanger she hadn't braced for. "David, I just want to talk," she said, but the line went dead. His anger, raw and sudden, left her reeling. Back in her cottage, Oberon opened her journal, the act of writing a lifeline. By lamplight, she wrote, "Is David's anger hiding pain? I saw his debts, his struggle. I was wrong to judge him. I need to listen." Her words, a plea for connection, marked her growing resolve to heal their rift. Oberon's heart pounds. The narrator closed David's call, a storm unleashed. Truth waits sharp and near. A snowstorm battered Bar Harbor, Maine, in January 2025, winds howling across the frozen harbor. Snow piled against Victorian homes, their lights flickering in the gale. Oberon's cottage shook, its warmth no match for the chill within. David's angry call. "What do you want?" Mom still echoed his abrupt hang-up, a fresh wound. The town, isolated by the storm, mirrored Oberon's turmoil, her resolve to face him, now a burning need. Tempers flare in the storm, the warm, gravelly male narrator intoned his voice, taut with anticipation. Oberon, her silver hair loose, stood by her window, eyes tracing the blizzard. Her discovery of David's debts, thousands in medical bills and loans, had shaken her, but his hostility cut deeper. Shock surged as she prepared to confront him, driven by Clara's urging to be honest. She texted David asking to meet at the town's lone open cafe. To her surprise, he agreed, his reply curt. "Fine. 1 hour." Her heart raced as she bundled up and braved the storm boots sinking into drifts. At the cafe, David sat in a corner, his dark curls streaked with gray eyes guarded. "David, why hide the debt?" Oberon asked, her voice steady despite her nerves. David's jaw tightened. "You never cared. You called me a failure when I chose art." Oberon's breath caught. "I was wrong. I'm sorry," David's voice cracked. "Too late, Mom. You broke me back then." The words hit like a blow, revealing a trauma from her rejection years ago. Compassion stirred in Oberon, his pain mirroring her own regrets. "I want to understand, David," she said, leaning forward. "Tell me." But David shook his head, eyes glistening. "I can't." He stood abruptly, storming out into the snow. The confrontation, raw and unresolved, left Oberon reeling, yet it deepened their dialogue, a step toward truth. Her mind flashed to a memory sharp and painful. David, 20, stood in her living room, art school acceptance letter in hand. "I'm going, Mom." Her voice had been cold. "You'll regret it. Art's a dead end." His face crumpled, the rejection searing. The memory burned her dismissal, a wound she now saw clearly. Loneliness gripped David, his sense of being unvalued, echoing the isolation of many seniors' children. His hunched shoulders as he left the cafe mirrored Oberon's own solitude, a shared pain across generations. Thomas, David's son, texted Oberon later, his subplot a lifeline. "Grandma, Dad's upset, but he's glad you tried." He wrote his optimism a beacon. His effort to bridge their gap, planning a reunion, kept hope alive, his youth a contrast to Oberon's weary resolve. Bar Harbor's storm preparedness united neighbors, a Maine tradition of shared supplies and check-ins. Oberon, passing shuttered shops, felt the town's resilience a stark contrast to her fractured family. Could she find such strength? David's exit left a cliffhanger. Why couldn't he open up? Oberon's heart pounded the question driving her forward. Back home, she journaled by lamplight. Forgiveness starts with me. David's pain is my failure, but I can listen. I must. Her words a vow to heal marked her growing compassion. Oberon's resolve hardens. The narrator closed David's storm, a mirror of their rift. Healing waits fragile, but near. Bar Harbor, Maine emerged from the January 2025 snowstorm, its frozen harbor glinting under a tentative sun. Snowdrifts lined the streets, but the town stirred neighbors clearing paths. Oberon's cottage, warmed by a crackling fireplace, held a lingering chill. David's storming out from the cafe. I can't a fresh scar. Yet hope flickered, fueled by Thomas's text that David valued her effort. The town's recovery mirrored Oberon's resolve to mend her family. Community offers solace. The warm, gravelly male narrator declared his tone softening with hope. Oberon, wrapping her scarf against the chill, headed to Clara's community dinner, a post-storm gathering to lift spirits. Sadness clung to her, the memory of family dinners with David, his laughter, her pride, now a distant echo. Clara's home glowed, its porch strung with lights, the scent of clam chowder and cornbread wafting out. Oberon stepped inside, greeted by neighbors' chatter, but felt out of place, her solitude stark. Clara, her gray bun neat, pulled Oberon to a table. Eat, Oberon. You're not alone, she said, her eyes kind. Oberon's voice was soft. I miss our family dinners, Clara. David was so young then. Clara nodded. Make new ones. Start with David. Oberon sighed. I'm trying, but he's so angry. Clara's hand rested on hers. Keep going. Love's worth it. The words sparked compassion, reminding Oberon that community like family could heal. Oberon's resolve grew. She would journal her pain, a self-focused act to find clarity. The dinner's warmth, neighbors sharing stories, mirrored the compassion she sought with David. You're strong, Oberon, Clara added. Don't give up. The encouragement rooted in Clara's own loss deepened Oberon's hope. Her mind drifted to a memory vivid and warm. David, 15, sat at their dining table sketching as Oberon served chowder. Laughter filled the air, their bond unbreakable. You're my artist, she'd said, ruffling his hair. The memory ached her later rejection of his art, a betrayal she now mourned. Loneliness shadowed Oberon, a struggle shared by many seniors post-holidays. The dinner's joy, families reconnecting, sharpened her isolation. Her cottage a silent contrast to the bustling room. Clara's own loneliness surfaced, her eyes dimming as she glanced at a photo of her estranged daughter Lily on the mantel. Clara's subplot thickened her loss, fueling her empathy. I'd give anything to talk to Lily again, she confessed later, voice low. Don't lose your chance, Oberon. Her pain, a mirror to Oberon's, strengthened her role as guide, urging Oberon to persist. This shared vulnerability wove their stories closer, a quiet thread of hope. Bar Harbor's communal meals, a Maine tradition, bound neighbors. Oberon helping serve chowder felt a fleeting connection, but her heart yearned for David. The town's unity inspired her. Could her family find such warmth? Her phone buzzed as she left a text from David. "We need to talk. Soon." Her pulse quickened, his words a cliffhanger. Was he ready to listen, or would anger prevail? The uncertainty drove her forward, hope battling fear. Back home, Oberon opened her journal. Writing by lamplight, "Can family heal like this town? I hurt David, but I see his pain now. I'll keep trying for him, for us." Her words, a commitment to compassion, marked her growing strength. Oberon's hope stirs the narrator closed, David's message a fragile bridge. The town heals, and so might they. Bar Harbor's streets cleared in January 2025. Snow pushed into neat piles along Maine's cobblestones. The harbor sparkled under a crisp sun. The storm's fury a memory. Oberon's cottage hummed with quiet tension. David's text, "We need to talk." Soon a fragile lifeline after their cafe clash. The town's post-Christmas rhythm resumed, but Oberon's heart lingered on her son, her resolve sharpened by Clara's dinner and Thomas's hope. Oberon seeks answers online. The warm, gravelly male narrator spoke, his tone laced with curiosity. Oberon, her silver hair pinned back, sat at her kitchen table, eyes fixed on her laptop. David's art page loaded slowly, its vibrant paintings a revelation. Empathy welled as she scrolled through his work. Bold seascapes, haunting portraits, seeing his talent for the first time. "I never saw this," she whispered, her voice thick. She texted Thomas, arranging a call to understand David's world. His reply came fast. "Call now. Grandma. Grandma. Dad's art is amazing, right?" Thomas's voice crackled through the phone, bright with pride. Oberon nodded, though he couldn't see. "I never saw it before. I was blind." Thomas's tone softened. "Tell him. He needs you." The words stirred honesty in Oberon, a need to admit her pride had blinded her to David's gift. Their dialogue deepened her resolve to reach out to bridge their gap with truth. Oberon's fingers brushed her locket, a gift from David at 12, its tiny sailboat, engraving a symbol of regret. She'd dismissed his art, fearing it would lead to ruin, but now saw its beauty. The locket anchored her, a reminder of the bond she longed to restore. Technology's barriers loomed, isolating Oberon like many seniors. The laptop's sluggish load, the unfamiliar interface, left her feeling left behind, a struggle shared by 40% of seniors facing Loneliness 2020. Her fumbling clicks echoed their disconnect from digital lifelines. Marcus's subplot added depth. Meeting Oberon at the cafe later, he challenged her avoidance. "You're dodging the hard part," he said, his eyes steady. "Admit you were wrong about David's art." His candor, shaped by his caregiving stress for his wife, pushed Oberon toward honesty. "I'm trying." "Marcus," she said, voice firm. Their bond, a quiet anchor, bolstered her courage. Bar Harbor buzzed with recovery neighbors planning a New Year's event. Oberon, passing posters, felt the town's unity, a contrast to her fractured family. Could she find such connection with David digging deeper online? Oberon stumbled on a hidden financial record. David's debt details tied to medical bills for Thomas's childhood illness. Her breath caught the discovery, a cliffhanger. Why hadn't he told her? The question burned, driving her forward. Back home, Oberon journaled by lamplight. "Did I misjudge David? His art is his soul, and I crushed it. I see him now, but is it too late?" Her words, a plea for redemption, marked her growing empathy. Oberon's eyes linger on the screen. The narrator closed David's debt, a new mystery. Truth beckons sharp and near. Bar Harbor's winter deepened in January 2025. Maine's harbor locked in ice under a steel-gray sky. Snow blanketed the town, muffling its pulse. Oberon's cottage, warmed by a flickering fire, brimmed with tension. David's hidden debts tied to Thomas's medical bills, a fresh weight. His text, "We need to talk," soon loomed, but his silence, since the cafe clash, gnawed at her. The town's quiet recovery contrasted Oberon's rising stakes, her heart set on confronting the truth. Betrayal cuts deep, the warm, gravelly male narrator intoned his voice heavy with foreboding. Oberon, her silver hair loose, paced her living room eyes sharp with resolve. Shock jolted her when David called unexpectedly, his voice cold. "Meet me at the Harbor Inn. Now." She bundled up, braving the snow to face him, driven by Marcus's push for honesty. At the inn, David sat rigidly, his face taut. "You owe me, Mom," he said, slamming a legal document on the table. "Sign over the cottage." "I need the money." The threat, a demand to sell her home, felt like betrayal, its sting amplified by his debts she'd uncovered. "I was wrong about your art," Oberon said, voice steady. "But this isn't you, David. What's wrong?" David's eyes flashed. "You'll see. Just sign." His refusal to explain fueled her resilience, a determination to stand firm despite the pain. She shook her head, refusing to yield her calm, a self-focused shield against his anger. "Talk to me, David," she urged, but he stood, leaving the papers behind. His earlier anger at the cafe. "You called me a failure," had hinted at this move, a subtle foreshadowing now clear. Oberon's mind raced, what drove him to such extremes. The legal threat raised the stakes, her home and legacy on the line. Loneliness gripped Oberon, the sense of abandonment shared by many seniors. David's demand, a fracture in their bond, left her feeling discarded, a pain echoing the solitude of those over 55 with strained family ties. The inn's warmth, filled with locals' chatter, only sharpened her isolation. Thomas's subplot offered hope. Texting Oberon later, he revealed David's stress. "Dad's scared Grandma. He's not himself." He wrote his insight a bridge. His reunion plans persisted, his optimism a lifeline amid the crisis, reinforcing his role as a generational connector. Bar Harbor's community rallied neighbors, sharing resources post-storm. Oberon, passing a food drive, felt the town's strength, a contrast to her family's fracture. Could she find such unity with David leaving the inn? Oberon met Vesper, a retired lawyer friend, by chance. "I saw David's papers," Vesper said, eyes sharp. "Let me help." The allies' arrival, a cliffhanger, sparked hope. Could she save her home? The question burned, pushing her forward. Back home, Oberon journaled by lamplight, "My legacy's worth fighting for. David's lost, but I won't give up. I'll face him with truth." Her words, a vow of resilience, marked her stand against his threat. Oberon's resolve steels the narrator, closed Vesper's aid a new light. David's shadow looms, but truth waits. Bar Harbor braced for New Year's in January 2020. Maine's snow-dusted streets aglow with fairy lights. The harbor's ice gleamed, reflecting the town's tentative hope. Oberon's cottage, warmed by a steady fire, pulsed with cautious optimism. David's legal threat demanding her cottage still raw. Vesper's offer to help a new ally sparked a flicker of possibility. The town's festive hum contrasted Oberon's quiet resolve, her heart set on reaching David through truth. Words begin to heal. The warm, gravelly male narrator spoke his tone, softening with promise. Oberon, her silver hair pinned back, sat at her kitchen table, eyes tracing Vesper's notes on David's legal papers. Empathy stirred as she reflected on his debts tied to Thomas's childhood illness, a burden he'd hidden. She texted David asking for a neutral meeting at the town library, hoping for dialogue. His reply was curt but open. Okay, noon. Oberon arrived early, her locket, David's childhood gift cool against her skin, a symbol of their fractured bond. David entered his face, guarded dark curls streaked with gray. David. I see your pain, Oberon began, voice steady. I'm sorry for pushing you away. David's shoulders tensed. You never valued me, Mom. My art, my choices. Oberon leaned forward. I was wrong. I love you, and I'm proud of your work. David's eyes glistened, his voice low. I'm scared, Mom. For Thomas, for us. The debts, they're crushing me. The confession, raw and unguarded, eased their mistrust, a dialogue that bared their hearts. I want to help, Oberon said. Not with money, but with us. David hesitated, then nodded. I need time, but I'll try. Their talk a step toward honesty lifted Oberon's hope, though his uncertainty lingered. The library's quiet, filled with soft murmurs, cradled their fragile truce. Her mind flashed to a memory vivid and tender. David, or 18, sketched in her garden, dreaming of art school. I'll make you proud, Mom, he'd said, eyes bright. Her doubt art won't pay had dimmed his spark, a regret she now carried. The memory fueled her resolve to support him now. Loneliness shadowed David, his isolation a mirror to seniors' struggles. His admission of fear for Thomas for failure echoed the solitude. Oberon knew a shared pain across generations. The library's warmth, a contrast to their past distance, hinted at healing. Clara's subplot bolstered the moment. Visiting Oberon later, she shared her reunion hopes. You're close, Oberon, Clara said, eyes bright. Keep talking to him. Her own loss, her daughter Lily, fueled her encouragement, her empathy a quiet guide. Clara's support, rooted in her pain, strengthened Oberon's resolve. Bar Harbor buzzed with New Year's resolutions, a Maine tradition of renewal. Oberon, passing festive banners, felt the town's hope a spark for her own family's mending. Could she and David find such a new beginning? David's hesitation. I need time left a cliffhanger. Would he fully open up or pull back again? The question hung Oberon's heart, steady but wary. Back home, she journaled by lamplight. Can we be family again? David's fear is mine too. I'll keep listening. Her words a pledge to trust marked her growing hope. Oberon's hope rises, the narrator closed David's words, a fragile thread. Healing beckons, tentative but real. New Year's dawn broke over Bar Harbor, Maine in January 2025, the harbor sparkling under a pale sun. Snow clung to Victorian rooftops, the town aglow with fresh hope. Oberon's cottage buzzed with quiet anticipation. David's hesitant, I'll try from their library talk a fragile bridge. The legal threat over her cottage lingered, but Vesper's aid and Thomas's optimism fueled Oberon's resolve. The town's festive hum mirrored her cautious steps toward family unity. Family calls, the warm, gravelly male narrator spoke his tone rich with possibility. Oberon, her silver hair neatly pinned, stood in her living room, eyes bright with purpose. Empathy deepened as she reflected on David's fears, debts, fatherhood failure, shared in their last meeting. She met Thomas at a cafe to plan a family gathering, hoping to draw David closer. Thomas, 16. His dark curls bouncing, grinned. "Grandma, let's get Dad here. A real reunion." Oberon's voice wavered. "I'm scared, Thomas. What if he says no?" Thomas's eyes shone. "He won't." "I know him." Their talk, a dialogue of trust, solidified Oberon's plan to invite David to a community hall meeting, a neutral space for truth. Thomas's enthusiasm stirred compassion in her, a realization that David's pain could be eased by family. The harbor shimmered under a soft sun free of ice, reflecting the community's renewal. Oberon's cottage brimmed with life, its windows aglow as David's commitment to their art workshop cemented their reconciliation. The legal threat over her home was a distant memory, their bond restored through forgiveness. The town's New Year's spirit bloomed, mirroring Oberon's joy in her reunited family. "Family is home." The warm, gravelly male narrator declared, his voice radiant with hope. Oberon, her silver hair loose, stood in her kitchen, eyes sparkling with contentment. Hope filled her as she, David, and Thomas prepared a family dinner, the cottage alive with laughter and the scent of clam chowder. To family old and new, Oberon toasted, raising her glass. David, his dark curls streaked with gray, smiled. "Thanks, Mom, for everything." Thomas, his grin wide, stood by the table. "We're together. That's enough." Marcus, joining them, nodded. "You did it, Oberon." The dialogue, warm and open, cemented their bonds, a celebration of community spirit. The dinner, a shared effort, embodied their healing. Oberon served cornbread. David stirred the chowder, and Thomas set the table, their teamwork a testament to dialogue's power. Oberon's heart swelled the scene, a fulfillment of her longing for family unity, a legacy secured through love and truth. Her mind drifted to a memory vivid and joyful. Years ago, Oberon hosted dinners like this, David sketching at the table. Thomas, a toddler, giggling in his high chair. "You're my heart," she'd told them, her love fierce. The memory, a reminder of their early joy, anchored her peace, now her family whole again. Loneliness, once Oberon's burden, vanished in the cottage's warmth. The dinner's laughter, a stark contrast to her past solitude, mirrored the connection many over 55 seek. David's earlier isolation, tied to his debts, dissolved in their unity, a shared triumph across generations. Marcus's subplot closed gently. "You've built something special," he said, his eyes warm. His caregiving stress, shared in earlier talks, grounded his pride in Oberon's growth, his role as her anchor complete. His presence, a quiet testament to resilience, enriched the evening, reinforcing the value of community. Bar Harbor's spring renewal events blossomed, a Maine tradition of markets and music. Oberon, passing festive banners, felt the town's hope, a mirror to her family's rebirth. The dinner echoed such gatherings, a vision of shared joy. No cliffhanger remained, their story resolved in love. David's full commitment to the workshop, Thomas's laughter, and Clara's renewed hope for her own daughter wove a tapestry of healing. Oberon journaled by lamplight, "Families healed, my legacy's love." "We're home." Her words, a final reflection, sealed her peace. Oberon's pen rests, the narrator closed the cottage alive with love. Family endures, a legacy complete. Bar Harbor, Maine stirred with the promise of spring in late January 2025. Snow melting into rivulets along cobblestone streets. The harbor shimmered under a gentle sun, its icy grip loosened, mirroring the town's quiet rebirth. Oberon's cottage nestled on a narrow lane, pulsed with life, its windows aglow with lamplight. The scent of clam chowder and cornbread wafted through the air, mingling with laughter. David's commitment to their art workshop, a shared dream born of reconciliation, had dissolved the legal threat over Oberon's home. Their rift, once a chasm, now healed through forgiveness, the town's New Year's spirit echoing Oberon's joy in her reunited family. "Family is home," the warm, gravelly male narrator declared, his voice radiant with hope. In the cottage's cozy kitchen, Oberon stood by the stove, her silver hair, loose eyes sparkling with contentment. David stirred the chowder, his dark curls streaked with gray, a soft smile playing on his lips. Thomas, his grin wide, set the table with care, his dark curls bouncing. Marcus, their steadfast friend, leaned against the counter, his presence a quiet anchor. The scene alive with clinking spoons and shared glances embodied their healing. To family old and new, Oberon toasted, raising her glass of cider. "Thanks, Mom." For everything David said, his voice thick with gratitude. "We're together. That's enough," Thomas added, his eyes bright. Marcus nodded. "You did it, Oberon." The dialogue, warm and unguarded, wove their bonds tighter, a testament to dialogue's power. The dinner unfolded with ease, each gesture a thread in their restored tapestry. Oberon served cornbread, its golden crust crumbling under eager hands. David ladled chowder, steam curling upward, rich with clams and herbs. Thomas passed plates, his laughter infectious. The table adorned with a simple linen cloth, and a vase of winter greens glowed under the chandelier's soft light. Outside Bar Harbor's streets lay quiet, snow-draped pines whispering in the breeze, but inside the cottage thrummed with love. Oberon's heart swelled the weight of years apart, David's debts, her pride lifted by this moment. Their teamwork, a shared labor of love, fulfilled her longing for unity, a legacy forged through forgiveness and resilience. Her mind drifted to a memory vivid and joyful. Years ago, Oberon hosted dinners like this, David sketching at the table. Thomas, a toddler, giggling in his high chair. "You're my heart," she'd told them, her love fierce. The memory, a mirror to this night, anchored her peace, their family whole again. Forgiveness, the theme that guided their journey, shone in David's quiet apology at the hall, in Oberon's open heart, and in Thomas's unwavering hope. It mended their wounds, proving love could heal even the deepest rifts. Loneliness, once Oberon's shadow, vanished in the cottage's warmth. The laughter, a stark contrast to her past solitude, echoed the connection many over 55 crave. David's isolation tied to his debts dissolved in their unity, a triumph shared across generations. Clara's absence tonight, she was drafting a letter to her daughter Lily, wove a thread of hope. Her subplot, a quiet echo of Oberon's success. Bar Harbor's spring renewal events, a Maine tradition of markets and music, blossomed outside. Oberon, passing festive banners earlier, felt the town's hope, a mirror to her family's rebirth. The dinner, with its lobster-rich chowder and communal joy, echoed these gatherings, a vision of shared warmth. Marcus's voice broke the reverie. "You've built something special," he said. His eyes warm, his caregiving stress, a quiet undercurrent. His pride in Oberon's growth closed his subplot, a testament to community's strength. Thomas hugged Oberon, his locket, her gift, glinting its sailboat, engraving a symbol of their enduring bond. Oberon journaled later, by lamplight, "Families healed my legacy's love. We're home." Her words sealed her peace, the rift resolved in love's embrace. Oberon's pen rests. The narrator closed, his voice tender. The cottage hums with love, a legacy complete. Thank you, dear listeners, for sharing Oberon's journey of forgiveness. Your presence weaves our own community of hope. If this story warmed your heart, please like and subscribe. Share your tales of family healing in the comments. Let's inspire each other with stories of love and second chances.